In addition, with Michelle, in addition to until it happens to you, you don't know how you're going to grieve or what the devastation is. It's exactly like these affluent people that run the country. Until something happens directly to them, are they ever going to make a move to change it?
Right.
Yeah, if the NRA had family victims that, were a victim of these mass shootings, then there's never going to be change. Ever. No one understands this devastation except the victims' families. Mm. No one does.
Continuing on this conversation of devastation, but stepping away from the gun violence portion of it, unfortunately we experienced another tragedy this last week, which was that a group of African Americans decided to torture and Facebook Live their torture of a mentally handicapped young man to the point where they stabbed him so deeply in his head the bone from his skull was visible. And then they taped his mouth shut and sent him walking in the middle of the night through downtown Chicago. And the police are claiming it is not a hate crime.
It is a hate crime.
So, this is also...
And how is it not a hate crime?
Their claim is that... So in the video, they're claiming...
It was human sacrifice because they're African?
No, they're saying they said a bunch of anti-Trump things. So the police are stating that that's not a hate crime, but it's a hate crime to torture somebody because of their mental handicapness. That's a type of hate crime. It doesn't matter if he was white or black.
Well, I think they were using the fact that he was handicapped as, the connection to Trump. But at the same time, they were saying, like, fuck white people, fuck, and they just kept going on that. That part makes it a hate crime, And I know it's funny because, like, I read a little bit about that, and I watched a little bit of the video, and then I was talking with a couple of people about it on Facebook and stuff. And one person said something to me that made me really think about it. Because a lot of people were voicing, like, oh, if it was reversed, there'd be riots everywhere, and everybody would be in an uproar, Black Lives Matter would be out, and all this stuff, But yet at the same time, there was another crime where a mentally challenged black person was attacked by a bunch of white people and was, he had like some wires shoved up his ass and had to go to the hospital, and you'd never even heard of it. Jeez. So the thing that this person said to me that made me really think was, it's not necessarily that the black people don't care about this, that this happened, and that they're not outraged as well. But they're outraged about it, and this is kind of like where their movement and where their voices need to start going towards, so maybe more white people will understand what their movement is about, is it's not the race part of it, it's the injustice that each person gets. So these people that just hurt this white person is going to go to jail, they're going to get all these things that happen. Mm-hmm. But this other crime, these white people were let free. They got probation. So that's what...
So an inconsistency.
It's inconsistent, right? You can have the same crime, but two different races doing it. The white person is going to get less of a penalty versus the black people doing the same exact crime.
Right.
No, I've even seen... I'm sorry. This is just not a race thing necessarily, but I've seen plenty of African Americans that are friends of mine that have posted about it, and they said this is a hate crime. Yeah. I don't think color has anything to do with it. I honestly believe, if you see this, again, was an attack against a disabled person at the end of the day. And yes, color should be taken into factor, but a small factor, because that doesn't play. At the end of the day, this guy was really hurt, and that's not right at all. So, and yes, I believe it was a hate crime. I absolutely do.
I agree.
There's just so much negativity on the news. I mean, it's like, what do you take seriously, and what do you hate, and what do you not hate?
The Golden Globes were yesterday.
Your Radikowski looks slamming.
My boy Ryan won. Yeah. But as we progress through this conversation, the next thing that we're going to cover is, so we all probably heard about this or read about it or shared about it through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, wherever you do your thing. So my question is when you look back at this last year's, like with the election and with all these crimes and with the gun violence and with the equality, and you see how much of it you were exposed to on social media. So my question is how much of your news are you getting on social media? How much of a grain of salt do you take it with? And how much further do you think we're going to go down the rabbit hole, that being exclusively where we get our information from?
I think the more the younger people are taking their news from social media, because... Well, your grandpa watched the news, right? Or your dad watched the news. You didn't watch the news when you were younger. You wanted to watch cartoons.
Or the radio.
The radio or something like that. So I think I don't watch the news on TV. I'll tell you that. I don't trust anything that's on TV. All the TV networks are owned. And they're owned by the elite. Right. So I don't trust anything that's on TV. Social media isn't under control yet. So therefore you have more free voice that's out in social media. do you believe everything you see on social media? I hope not, man. Or else you're an idiot, you know. But you have to research where you're getting your news from. See just like anything. Research anything that you're getting anything from to see whether it's safe, whether it's true, whether it's right. Where you buy your food, what you eat, what you drink, anything. You have to research whether it's safe or not. So the news, there's so much fake news that's out there, and there's so much people that are becoming popular and getting money. Yeah. They're starting to make businesses out of their own web pages that they're creating to put out whatever news that people want to hear. So
just the show in itself is an example of that.
Right.
We relay our news and opinions, and people, if this is the only place they hear it.
Yeah, but we don't claim journalism either, and we don't have our degrees in journalism.
We got media passes to events.
I got my press pass.
Yeah.
No. My opinion on the whole social media thing is a joke, because every time you click on some news link, you have 50,000 ads in front of the click next button. You get to the next page. Yeah. So it's like some journalist decides, hey, I need something to write about, and maybe I'll get some impression clicks. Make 2 cents, off every click.
Why are all the ads out there to make your dick bigger? Make you have a six-pack?
What the fuck are you looking at, Jay?
That's what sells, man.
That's what it is. Like, this pill will make your dick do jumping.
I never see dick pills.
I think I know where Jay is getting his news from.
Get my information right above my testosterone pills.
No, you've all clicked on that link on Facebook with some like amazing story of some tragedy, and you click it, and then you read one sentence, and then you like, oh, where's the next sentence? And then you got to scroll down by like 50,000 ads. Oh, there's the next page button, and you accidentally click that make your dick bigger picture, and you go, fuck. You exit off that, and you go back to
reading this article.
Oh, I hate these articles.
Look, I'm going to say this because I know you were saying younger people, and I think I'm the youngest one here, so I'm going to say my opinion. I personally, like, if I see something like a link or whatever, I always research it myself. I always look through NPR, LA Times, NY Times, KCET, all those resources, because those are actual facts from journalists that have researched their time. CNN too. Like, I know people are like, oh, I don't watch TV. I watch TV because there's actual journalists who fucking study this shit and then do this hours of the day, and I don't.
But you know what's different about you that I'm going to commend you on?
Sure.
Because I'll be the first to say that you and I disagree on many a things.
Of course.
But one thing that I give Michelle credit on is that there was an incident recently that Jester and I disagree with her opinion on. We called her out on it. And instead of just telling us to fuck off, she went out of her way to find even sources that we cited to do research on, then came back to me with her own formulated opinion in a respectful debate way. But she didn't just go, no, what you're saying is wrong. Like, she went out of her way to research where I said I got my information, formulate her opinion on it based on her two collective sources. And I mean, I commend that. I commend you for that.
When he told me that, Michelle, seriously, like,
that's awesome. I think if everybody in this planet did that, then there wouldn't be any of these.
No,
if people go out of their way to educate themselves, but they don't agree with my opinion, right? I'll respect it.
Dude, I honestly believe,
know
like,
what you're talking about first.
That's why, like, I try my best not to fight with people about stuff, but I will discuss it strongly because, like, dude, you can't, there's too much education in the world for you to ignore. And you need to, like, people need to stop being ignorant. Like, if you read something on the internet, it's just as good as looking at The Onion. And if you see The Onion, that shit is fucking hilarious. Like, it's so bad.
A lot of people don't understand the difference with when they present their point. They don't understand the difference in between making somebody hear you and making somebody agree with you.
Exactly.
There's a fine line there. And when you go to tell somebody your point in the aspirations to convince them to look at it your way, you're failing miserably. But when you convince them, when you portray your point so that they'll hear it from an educated, intelligent standpoint and then formulate their own opinion, that's the way to communicate information, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the same as listening to it goes on both ends. You can't just hear, you have to listen.
Yeah.
So true. You don't want to just hear noise and then your opinion's so strong because you just think you're so right.
That's some husband shit right there, Todd.
You have no idea, bro.
That's a compromising husband right there.
That sounds like a husband.
Shout out to Todd's wife.
A husband that gets laid, probably, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
He's got 3 kids. The guy does just fine.
Damn, 3?
Yeah.
Shit. Jay just has 1.
I know. Todd's got.
He needs to work on the listening part.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll be popping out everywhere, bro.
Exactly. Great. Mrs. Infamous going to be like, I listened to your episode last night, and Todd had a point.
Let's have more babies.
He's not allowed on the show anymore.
That's right. give it 2 episodes, and Jay will be having a second child.
Exactly. That's the magic right there. That was the breakthrough.
Yeah.
Right there.
There it is.
So Do you think that? I'll start with you on this, Todd, just because I already know the answer. I'm giving this question to you, Loaded, and then we'll go Stevenson and then Jesser. Why? At what point did you stop trusting outlets like CNN and local news? And where do you prefer to go to gather your news from?
I stopped. Like I said, when I was younger, when the news was ever on the television, it was always like at my grandparents' house. And so you never really paid attention to it, and they were always glued to it. Because even before then, you had people that actually read newspapers. So they went from reading newspapers to watching TV.
Well, they had to get their weather somewhere.
They got to get it somewhere, right? So I think once I started actually thinking for myself and kind of doing a lot more research about things. I think I was about 13. A buddy of my dad started talking about the Illuminati and started talking about all these different things. And he was like, watch, just research it. And back then we didn't have internet. It was encyclopedias, and you had to go to the libraries and do all these different things,
And Playboy.
Playboy had all
such
kinds of
a great
information.
source.
Yeah.
Only for the articles.
Only for the articles, for sure.
Bookmarks.
Yeah. Bookmarks. You eventually got sticky, so you didn't need the. Just kidding.
I can't get to that article anymore. Dang.
Oh, this research.
It's too good. It's too good. So, anyways, you just start trusting. You stop trusting what they tell you on TV, and then plus, like if you do watch the news, and then it's just like there's nothing positive on the news. Everything is negative. Everything that they talk about is always negative. It's just like, why is our TV just feeding so much negativity?
Right.
There's never anything positive to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just don't want to watch it for that reason. But then when you start learning who actually owns these corporations and who owns these companies, and then go up the ladder and up the chain, things start to make sense. And so I don't pay attention to it anymore. I don't watch them anymore. So I go through social media and I'll click on different links and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, like, if I click on something and those ads start popping up, I just exit out of it because it's just bullshit to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just a bot, somebody's bot page that they're making money from whatever news they want to throw out there. Right. I mean, I don't have an exact website name or news article, but I go through so many different ones that it's almost like the majority kind of rules to me, and then if I find that interesting, then I'll look into that myself,
I made a big one for you. You always check Anonymous all the time, right?
I had Anonymous, and there's like a proxy, and there's a bunch of, I'd probably say 15, 20 different website articles that I'll check out, Okay. And then if the majority are saying this, then I'll go research that and different things, look it up, and come to my own opinions.
Okay. Shell, what about you?
What was the question?
So at what point do you stop accepting news as it is given to you, and where do you find you get the most information from?
Where do I get the most information from? I think the minute I see something on social media, I'll click that browser, whatever it may, not whatever it may be, but if it's credible. And then on my own, my number one thing is always NPR. If it's political, I always go through C-SPAN. So that's me. That's my own formulated opinion. And the only reason I go through C-SPAN is because it's the only thing documented in the House and everything like that in the Senate. So that's me personally. I don't know. Everybody else does. So,
yeah. Sure.
I go to BBC. I watched it when I was living overseas. The United States basically cares about United States news. They barely touch on world news.
Oh, yeah.
CNN maybe drops a little hint here and there on something happening outside the world.
If somebody's dying or blowing up.
Yeah.
Or you're in war, they're all over it, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, BBC, honestly, it's pretty credible. The unions really take their news sleeping. The country was founded, they just love it, and I love the way that they broadcast it as well. They don't sit there and sugarcoat things. Number one, I know a few episodes back we talked about like how people sugarcoat. You don't want the whole story; you just want to know like the point of the story. They don't do that, but they give it to you straight because it's uncensored. C-SPAN, like you were saying, Michelle, I go there to CNN sometimes, but never anything on social media. Even with that little Fox News logo at the upper left-hand corner. I don't fuck with it, And I love the tagline. What she did was incredible. You'll never know what she did next.
Yeah.
I'm not going to click on it. Sorry. No.
No, I think that's the reason I love NPR is because it's touched on like international news more so less than on CNN and everything like that. Because I remember when Venezuela was going through like a really bad time,